Oi, oi, we're back and getting ready to go into our fourth and final game of the day. Singularity versus Fanatic. Look, man, I made you look stupid in that last segment. I might as well get myself while we're at it. This could be a really, really good matchup, actually. Both of these teams currently very close in the standings. Fnatic are 6-1. Singularity are 5-2. So far as the head-to-head goes, Fnatic are up in this matchup. So Singularity can find a win here. They can tie it up. This could be a really, really important match, especially if Singularity pull a win out here.
And here's the thing, because Fnatic has been looking weak against weaker teams, so my fear is either that they are a struggling team, or maybe they're just struggling to play against teams who's not on the same level as them, because sometimes we have had teams that rose to the level of their opponents, or in this game, Fnatic falling to the level of their opponents. But with Singularity now being a serious contender, I want to see, are they going to be punished for some of the mistakes that we've been seeing throughout some of the weeks now?
Yeah, and I certainly agree. I think Fnatic definitely falling to the level of some of their weaker opponents so far in the groups. And if anyone is going to punish an overstep in, Group B, obviously there is Barrage, but I feel like Singularity might actually punish just that little bit harder, because they have been one of the, the teams in the NLC in general that play a pretty standard, very, by the book sort of first 15 to 20 minutes of League of Legends. And, they will look to, cross map in these early objectives. They will wait until that third dragon and they will try and fight you really hard for it with any gold lead that they get. But they're playing into Fnatic Rising, and Fnatic will, not necessarily always give them, an inch to actually take.
So, three things: Olaf, Seraphine, and Kai'Sa.
Yes.
Three champions that are all up here. So, overloaded draft for sure. So, question is, what are you going to prioritize on Singularity? Is it going to be that early jungle pressure that we know you get out of Olaf? Is it the extended team fight booster you have in Seraphine? Or is it going to be the Kai'Sa, which is the hyper carry AD carry for just like S tier to play for right now?
Okay, well, there's your answer. They're going to put Noi on the Olaf. And I mean, honestly, up until I had to go and check the numbers because I was so surprised that Olaf didn't show up last game. Up until last game, had 100% presence in the NLC.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I went and double checked, and unless it wasn't updated today, but I'm pretty sure 100% presence up until last game. Fnatic Rising, I mean, the Seraphine's there if they want it, but I wouldn't necessarily mind the Thresh plus Aphelios rotation into the likes of an Olaf, honestly. Olaf typically gears a team into running forward for the most part, but they're going to hold on to the AD pick for now.
What I'm afraid of here is that, sorry for interrupting, but what I'm afraid of here is that, you have the Olaf and no CC can stop him. You'll have the Seraphine, and with the Seraphine, the ultimate will just be extended by Olaf, who's nothing's going to stop him by running into you. So, yeah, I can see why you'd lock in the Thresh, because then if your opponents pick Kai'Sa, then you're like, ha, we got the Aphelios Thresh, which is the counter pick for this lane. But with the Seraphine, you need to take in mount, I could be a bit worried, but let's see if they want to opt into it for Singularity. We haven't really seen, I think, Singularity pick Seraphine yet, so that may be why they're hovering onto this Kai'Sa now.
I think they ran it yesterday in
really?
In their Barrage game, yeah. They had Fury on it though, so it didn't actually.
Sorry.
I'd actually be curious to see whether or not Fnatic would then run it in the bot lane over the Aphelios. But when the Aphelios is such a candid answer, I would imagine that they just put Bean on the champion. Which just is going to mean Seraphine likely slips through into the second phase, which
Curious. That was a bit of a curveball.
Bit of a pivot. I mean, I suppose obviously Xayah does really well into dive, so you can look at it like that over running the slightly more immobile Aphelios. So maybe just Fnatic saying we just have a preference on this pick.
And also, just because that we've seen Maxi and Rox be able to enable the map so much with the priority that you get from Bean and Rox down in that bot side, maybe if you have to play a kind of weak side and you're afraid of getting dived, you alleviate a bit of that pressure by having the Feather Storm instead, than Aphelios just having to be down in that bot side. But with second ban phase now coming out, no top laner yet for Singularity, and Pride, I mean, it could be likely that he's still getting a counter pick, but I think with the bans coming out, that means that he is blind picking, and that's why he's removing some of the counters to that blind pick he's having in mind right now.
Well, as we do take a look at what's going to be left up in the bans, I am surprised Seraphine hasn't even reared its head here, because like you said, Fury did play it yesterday in the mid lane, and I mean, it adds to a bit of that team fighting you've got, or what you've already got, a fair amount of team fighting. So there's going to be the ban from Fnatic. Kind of expected that. Over to Singularity to kind of round out their final ban here. Wonder if they're just going to look to go for the top again and try and pinch that top pool a little bit more. They've taken away the Gragas, the Aatrox has been removed. What else is there really? I mean, I guess you go for the Ornn for like kind of hard engage.
Yeah, Ornn could be good. So Fnatic are lacking a bit of a go button at the moment. Not that they necessarily need it is an important note to add. But I do like the Seraphine ban because honestly, if SNG if they put Fury on this Seraphine, it's just really going to buff up the Olaf a little bit too much. I think one pick that definitely rises to priority now, probably the Orianna, especially when you've got the Graves there too. So we could see Febby default onto that if they're going to give counter pick to Pride as well. And I think it works as a really nice double takeaway as well.
And there we go, Profit
there
once
you go.
again. And yeah, it's just as you said, like there's not a lot of per se counters yet onto a blind pick Orianna. You can always go with the likes of Syndra if you want to contest with the jungle mid priority. Syndra is just that champion that will have a stun, will force you to go Mercury threats first, so that gives you a bit of more pressure in the early game. And if you can have the early game going for your Singularity, you will have the late game scaling with the Kai'Sa as well, so that could be a pick we could see here as well.
Yeah,
Victor does the kind of same, but he does it
Yeah.
after he gets his item. So that means the early game that we're talking about, it's just not coming through, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, at least the issue that I have is without the Syndra pick there to sort of lay down the early priority, means that there's a slightly lower chance to have easier dragon setups. That being said, Graves doesn't really want to always contest Olaf at these early dragons. The Lulu pick would actually be kind of an interesting one because it's not something that we see come out of top lane all of the time. But it is obviously going to be there to buff up the Olaf in the mid-game team fights, which is, again, this is what SNG like to do. They like to run into team fights come that third dragon. Lulu should have, at least one core item, whether it's the Moonstone or whatever it's going to be, or if it's going to be full AP, we're yet to see. But buffing up Noi is going to be really, really important come that dragon fight. But I think Syndra pick, a bit of a miss, opportunity. I think it's going to give you, it would have given you so much skirmish opportunity into the likes of a Graves Orianna, which needs time to ramp up. And honestly, the Camille slipped all the way through to R5, which is a bit curious, but that's going to be a bit of a problem pick potentially for the Lulu. But she did get buffs a couple of patches back, so she actually can stand on her own into this pick. But it just does mean that Weasel has to watch his back a little bit.
I actually like this Lulu as well, because you're saying that it will buff up the Olaf in these kind of mid-game fights, and as you just go later, it just goes, okay, drag guard now, he gets all the support. So actually, it could just pivot to like whoever's carrying at that particular point in the game. So laning phase, I am going to be very interested to see, because it's been a long time since I've seen a Lulu top. I think it was like mad in career, like at the end of last season or the beginning of preseason. I can't fully remember. Been a little while since we've seen it anyway in competitive. And versus this Camille, who's been very high priority. That's, I mean, Gulborg, what do you make of this matchup? Do you think it's gonna be all right?
So
or what?
range top laners usually have that pressure that they dictate the lane state. You can auto attack people when they come up and walk. So I'm thinking how Weasel will dictate the lane state of this lane, because if they go on you, either you polymorph the Camille for going on you when you're getting ganked, or you use the W to get away. And if you use it on the Camille, well, then you're just gonna get run down. So it's about how you play the wave. It's about how you play the lane. It can be punished. But at the same time, if you can make it work, like you can just neutralize the laning phase.
It's going to be a pretty explosive game from the looks of things. I am so excited to see how Fnatic and Singularity are going to go toe-to-toe, but we're not going to be the ones to strategy through this. No, we've got two handsome gentlemen ready to go into the game. So it's Scoundrel and Orcs, over to you.
Thank you, Jake. That was a lovely intro. You guys are all very handsome.
Scoundrel, you're muted for me.
I forgot to unmute on Discord. You guys at home heard me, but I forgot to unmute on
Please
Discord.
continue. I'll assume you said something
I
witty,
said something like
intelligent,
where everyone's
and fitting.
handsome. No, I just said everyone was handsome. Okay, this is, again, I think we've had a lot of banger matches today, honestly. I think every game has had some kind of impact or some potential impact on the standings, and this is another really important match, this time for the top end of the table here between Singularity and Fnatic. Ever since Pride came back into the roster, Fnatic have not lost. They've been on a 100% win rate ever since that first game that they lost at the start of the season due to having a substitute in the top lane. But ever since Pride has been back, Fnatic have been to their 100% winning ways. Singularity got slaughtered the last time these two met up, so they'll be looking for a bit of revenge in this game.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, though, is despite the fact that with Pride returning, they've had that 100% win rate, they haven't looked clean every game. There's been moments where it looks messy. Their last game, actually, Bean have to come in with a pentakill to deliver this sort of ending. It hasn't been clean sailing for Fnatic Rising, and there's definitely potential for Singularity to take them out here. I expect it to be a close one. And speaking of close, The reason I'm super hyped for this game is if Singularity win, then Singularity, Fanatic, and Barrage will all be 1-1 in their head-to-heads. And there's a pretty good chance that we'll end up with all three of them tied at the end of the season, and that'll make things really spicy. So could see that happen, but it really comes down to this game, because if Fnatic do win this one against Singularity, I expect them to take and hold first in their group.
Yeah, and this is, again, as you said, that for that very reason alone, Fnatic will be wanting to try and keep hold of this game and do the same as they did to Singularity previously. Now, Nolty is on a champion that he's super comfortable with, and, you know, myself and Norks have commentated on Nolty for a very long time and kind of know that his champion pool, he has some specific picks that work really well for him. Olaf is one of those picks that Nolty always feels incredibly comfortable on.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no better game to feel comfortable on that champion than when you have a Lulu to back you up. Honestly, Lulu top is such a powerful pick in terms of just solidifying the lane. It's quite hard to really pressure the Lulu in terms of the range harass, the polymorph, if they get close. And then it doesn't matter even if you do fall behind. If Fnatic want to put pressure on this Lulu, fine, whatever. Weasel will still have huge value. And when there's specifically an Olaf in the team, you can buff him up massively. And it's something that Des talked about. They were concerned about a Seraphine coming in for that same reason. But honestly, Lulu's just going to do the same job. And even then, you just crushed laning phase against Mali champions. You're an absolute bully. And it really needs sort of outside help for the Lulu to start to struggle. So if Maxi does come top, could see Weizor in trouble. But for now, he's just completely fine.
I love that Weizor is basically face tanking. Oh my word, forced the flash out from Pride as well. Face tanking the Camille because obviously doesn't want to give her the free heal at the edge of the leg sweep as well, and that is pretty brutal for Pride in this early laning phase. Weizor in complete control, forcing that teleport out of Pride super early.
Yeah, I mean you have to TP there, otherwise you're missing so much. The game feels really dual, but that's Summoner's down already for Pride. Pretty rough in this scenario.
Crossfair went for a very interesting engage onto Bean and Rux there, and unfortunately paid the price with 3/4 of his HP bar. Pride went for Grasp, by the way, as well. I kind of want to talk about that after this too.
Yeah, I mean, I think Grasp is an interesting one because you're unlikely to proc it too much. I feel like ultimately it's something that Camille will often take into tricky melee matchups. Things like Renekton, Grasp is a really good tool for that. Into the Lulu, I don't think it has as much merit. I actually wouldn't have mind seeing even a fleet footwork here coming out from Pride, because your only job is trying to survive the laning phase. You also went Doran's Blade. I feel like you could have gone fleet, you could have gone Doran's Shield, similar to like how Caston does, and you could have just survived. But I guess Pride is feeling confident that he's going to find his footing later on.
It just feels like a bit of a useless rune for the majority of this laning phase, though. That's the problem. Like,
yeah,
when you're going to get very few opportunities to actually land a basic attack onto Lulu. Maybe he didn't think it was Lulu top. I don't know. It's difficult one to answer, but it definitely feels like a bit of a useless rune in that regard.
Yeah, I mean that and the Doran's Blade as well, which is, you know, the whole point of Doran's Blade is when you attack stuff, you heal, but Weasel's not giving you too many windows. And actually, Maxi having to show up top simply to allow the wave to crash. That's how kind of rough this lane is already feeling for Pride. And again, it doesn't matter if Weizor wins lane for him. He's fine whatever happens, because he's like, I'm a Lulu, I always have value, I'm going to buff my Olaf. But the fact he is winning lane, it does make things a bit rough for Fnatic, particularly Pride.
It's a good start, though, for Singularity. You know, if you want to be this far ahead in the top lane.
Keep showing the grass stacks. In case you want to keep track, that is a 0 so far. We'll see if that switches up later, but yeah, let's say 0 out of a possible more than 0.
I kind of distracted you with, I unfortunately linked you to another point when I meant to talk a little bit about this bot lane as well. Obviously, Dragdown and Prosfair currently right now have a bit of priority. Maxi has shown up towards that bottom side of the map. Nolty currently doing the Dragon at this point in time is going to be backed up by Weizor and Fury, though. Shouldn't have any troubles picking this one up.
Yeah, beautiful roam coming in from Weizor in particular is the one I want to emphasize, because if Vivian moved down to match Fury, then we could have seen that be a contest. Nolty was getting a little bit low, he's trapped in the pit, could have been dangerous. But the fact that Weizor moved all the way down, that just guaranteed that Fnatic were going to back away, and it secures that early first Dragon, which is honestly a big factor, because it sets things rolling in terms of Singularity stacking up towards those Dragons, and it means that Fnatic is kind of under a bit of pressure to pick up that second one to slow that progression down.
All right, so Singularity currently, even though they're behind in gold, definitely feels like they're doing fine in the start of this game. Now, I think the question and the expectations that we need to talk about is if this game goes further into the late game, if this game, as we've seen with some of the previous games, go the distance. Who is this favoring? Is that a Singularity favored situation, or is that a Fanatic favored situation?
Honestly, I think it's hard to call. I'm leaning towards Singularity. I feel like they have a lot of tools that just outscale, but there's the threat of the Camille split push, and honestly, altogether, it's not like Fnatic have bad options later on. It's just like kind of, I think like the Olaf Lulu combo makes them really devastating later on. Kai'Sa Victor, really powerful in later stages, but I don't think it's super clear cut. I don't think there's going to come a point in this game where I'm like, oh, this team's outscaled. I think both teams relevant throughout many stages. We get to see, just while we're talking, there was a bit of a lean coming in bot lane from Fnatic to kind of zone Singularity's bot lane away from a fair amount of farm, but Singularity quickly responding to that one, and you could see Fury and Nulti moving in, and all that meant was that Fnatic backed away, didn't deny as much farm as maybe they'd hoped.
So Biven actually looking for a solo kill onto Fury, forces the flash out and will not flash after him, but that is a little bit of a show of dominance from Forbidden in this laning matchup, and Fury forcing to flash in the 1v1.
Pretty big as well, because if Fury wants to be finding priority, he's in a potentially vulnerable spot. If Rux finds a window to come mid, could pick him off. So Forbidden just finding dominance in the lane, it's slight, but you aren't really going to get much more than that. In the current meta, just with the mid laners they're playing as well, both control mages, you don't expect much to happen. So that is significant. Maxi, that's a kill.
It is a kill. First blood for Maxi. Orcs called it as it was. And that will be a nice pickup from Maxi in the jungle on his Graves. And Nulti forced out the tower. Actually, no, Nulti, he was so greedy. Nulti, you were so greedy. And you gave up your life for free because of it.
Oh, I mean, things quickly spiraling out of control for Singularity because they lose a life mid. And, oh, you see the pause? I'm hoping this is a jungle disconnection for Singularity.
At least if it's not, they're just covering Nulti by saying it could have been a jungle disconnect. Yeah, Maxi, they're going to get a replay of that. I mean, not much to analyze. He literally just saw him backing under tower and got the free kill.
Yeah, so this actually wasn't a Singularity pause. This was a Fnatic pause. This was just a misplay from Nulti. Didn't opt to be in the ult there. The CC comes in, and this is the power of Xayah. I remember having played in Xayah Kai'Sa meta a lot in solo queue, and I just remember, like, it doesn't matter how tanky you are, you will die. If you get caught in a CC chain, Xayah stacks up feathers, you will get bursted. Kai'Sa stacks up a passive, you'll get bursted, and you have to respect that. And Nulti just didn't. Had his flash, had his ult, got caught out, didn't do anything about it. And the devastating thing is he's trying to assist his bot lane to crash the wave, doesn't get a chance to do that. And then that's while Fury has died, got picked up by Maxi, and then Maxi's picking up the Herald as well. So it's like across the entire map, Fnatic is finding wins, and it has pushed them up to a 1,000 gold lead, which when these teams are so close in scaling and in how well they've been playing this season, it's significant.
Oh, that felt bad as well, just watching it, because, he could have just hit ultimate when he got hooked. Like, it doesn't matter. It's a relatively low cooldown on Olaf. Like, it's not exactly the highest cooldown ultimate in the world, and you still have a while until the next dragon's coming up. So, like, in situations where that ultimate is going to be super useful, yeah, maybe in a gank scenario, but you could have just not died, Nulti. Maybe I think he probably just underestimated the damage. He probably just underestimated the Xayah feathers, how many had stacked up, and was expected to be able to get out, but alas, this was not the case. And that is not the kind of edge. Exactly. That's not the edge that you want to be giving to Fnatic early on. You don't want to be giving Maxi first blood. You don't want to be giving the Fnatic bot lane any kind of leeway, because if they start to get that lead, they will start to run away with it. No matter how badly Pride is getting battered by a Lulu in the top lane, like, and even he's actually even on CS realistically. If you give them this edge now, you're never going to get to the point in the game where you're going to be super strong. And especially if Nulti, who is going to be that mid-game powerhouse with the Lulu, that's going to be a problem. There's going to be the box coming out. Prosfair immediately rooted up here. I don't think the flash is going to save him. He jumps in to try and buy some time for Dragdar, but another kill to the Fnatic bot lane. And in the meantime, Maxi's just taking the Rift Herald.
And that's the cost of Nulti dying. It left the bot lane of Singularity in a compromising position, and Prosfair goes down as well. Rel, great at engaging. Not the best at getting out of sticky situations. The fact that when you switch forms, you're so slow can leave you in a rough spot. Mid lane, plate picked up by Febiven with a comfortable CS lead. Things are just going wrong across the board now for Singularity. And Fnatic this very much is looking like it could be reminiscent of their last matchup against Singularity.
It could very easily snowball that way if Singularity aren't careful. And the reason that I think it's important is because wait, oh, did he got a stack, boys? He got a grasp stack. I don't know how many grasp stacks he's got.
Oh, he got it. He did it.
Oh,
and
my
it's
word.
all worth it for that. 5 HP in the bag. Very nice.
Oh, it's been the most entertaining part of the game thus far. Obviously, if Nolty, though, falls behind with this Lulu combo, it's going to make that particular combo far less threatening. Looks like there's a big group in the mid lane. This might even be straight up mid lane tier 1. Nice defensive, or rather, sorry, disruptive shockwave to allow this Rift Herald to drop down. And a mid lane tier 1 as the first tower of the game would be a really nice prize for the Fnatic roster.
Yeah, it's a big hit. A lot of teams will throw down a Herald just to get 2 plates mid, just to put pressure on it in the future. To have already picked it up before 10 minutes in the game is massive. There's a 3,500 gold lead for Fnatic Rising. They are looking comfortable so far, and they'll get a second charge through no real effort of their own. They just kind of left it there, and it ended up getting it. So massive advantage found for Fnatic Rising, and they're getting control of Dragon area. We said earlier, first Dragon kind of puts pressure on Fnatic Rising to get the second, but at this point, there just doesn't feel to be any pressure coming out from Singularity.
Looks like there is an aggressive play in the bot side of the map here. Brux is stepping up, but Nolty is hanging around right now. Maybe looking to come in for an engage off the back of Prosfair here. Dragdar as well.
This
They're
is
going to be sweeping out.
I mean, it's so hard to make this engage. Summoners up for both bot laners, but it's just Fnatic Rising still paying respect, despite the fact that they feel confident in that 2v2 and would comfortably able to win it out with just the advantage they have. They don't opt to go for it.
That's an immediate ult coming out from Nolty here, but the flash comes through. They're going to catch out Maxi, though, by the Dragon Pit. He's forced to ult away to buy some distance. In the meantime, though, Pride on the backline, straight on to Vazel, who I believe just dropped straight off the bat. Nolty now the second target on the chopping block, and Fnatic take 2 kills around the Dragon. Dragdar now has to be careful as the distance slows him down. He's forced to flash away. The shockwave comes through. There's the ultimate from Bean, and the feathers will help the execute come through. Febby gets another kill to his name. Fnatic are just steamrollering for Singularity right now.
Yeah, at this point, the game just feels done. This early on, it feels devastating, the lead that Fnatic have over Singularity. And I mean, I just don't know what Singularity are going for here. It's second Dragon. It's not that big of a deal. But they decide to move in, and then they're like, oh, let's go for the bot lane. Oh, no, let's go for the jungler. And they're just going back and forth. And the end result is they're cordoned in on all sides. Fury isn't even in the fight at all. And this is Fnatic Rising, who already have a gold lead. So it's obvious in this situation, 5v4, they're going to clean that one up easily, especially when so much was already committed. And then just to get dragged on the end as well, just devastating. Singularity, 5,000 gold down. Actually, 6,000 gold down.
It's got to feel bad for Singularity as well.
Terrible.
Because you've had such an incredible season in general as a roster, and there's a lot of hype built up around your scoreline. You've generally been performing well against the rest of the pack, and then you come up against really the only team that matters when it comes to claiming the first place prize or maybe a European master spot, especially when it is concerned with this group, and you get slaughtered. Like, it's not even close.
It kind of feels like there's a mental block. I mean, because we've seen Singularity play far, far better than they have in both their Fnatic games. And I'm not saying that, like, Singularity, I expect them to necessarily beat Fnatic, like, outright. Like, Fnatic are a very strong lineup. But, like, even the roster, even Kova, like, will give a big challenge.
Rux potentially caught here. Does take a lot of damage. The aftershock finally wears out, and Dragdar will pick up the first kill of the game here for Singularity. Maxi's now going to try and catch out Vaser on the sideline. Wild Growth will keep him safe for the time being, but Maxi does quite a lot of damage. Has that ultimate available. Final basic attack will not be able to get it. The shield does come through, as you correctly mentioned. However, that should be enough pressure to get top lane tower.
Yeah, I mean, we have to hammer with these plates. I think not sure if they'll actually be able to finish off with that mini wave, just with how tanky it gets, but the important thing is to get the plate gold, and then with the next wave, they can just finish it off once the plates have dropped. So a lot of gold coming in for Fnatic Rising again. And despite the fact that a kill was picked up for Singularity, they don't really get much of it. It's just turrets getting decimated. That's tier 2 mid down, by the way.
Tier 2 mid dropped in the meantime. Loads of plates picked up for Pride on the top side of the map. Doesn't want to stick around as Vazor is making his way over. But
goal differences.
Oh my god, it's pretty disgusting, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like to me like it's almost like a mental block for Singularity because they play better than this, and it's like you see Cova up against Fnatic and they give them a run for their money, and I'm not going to sit here and think that Fnatic have improved that drastically in a day. You could definitely make the argument that Fnatic played to their opponents. That definitely could and does seem to be true, but even so, Singularity seemed to flop so incredibly hard at 14 minutes to be 7,000 gold behind. It's what I'd expect if we saw, Fnatic playing against like the last place team. And this is a scenario where if Singularity won this one, they'd be tied with Fnatic.
Yeah, and tied in the head-to-head as well, which is really important when it comes to placing, which would be super, super important for Singularity. But I agree with you. And I think it's actually the case when you go up against either XL or Fnatic, there is maybe a bit of a mental block. Like, playing with nameplates on, probably starting to hurt you in terms of the way that you approach the game. You maybe give them a little bit more care and a gank than you would do normally. You don't take that 1v1 that you might seek earlier because it's forbidden rather than just, another NLC mid laner that you're used to playing against. It might just be that mental block that stops Singularity from performing against Fnatic. But right now, that performance needs to get better before playoffs, because if it doesn't, then I don't see a way that Singularity beat Fnatic in any kind of scenario, especially when we get to those important matches.
To me, it kind of feels like it's not necessarily like they're playing super scared when they're up against Fnatic, as in like, oh, they're insane, we can't deal with them, let's not fight them. It kind of feels like Singularity get desperate, like they're like, we have to push your advantage, otherwise Fnatic are going to make a big play and we'll lose. And once they're ahead, they won't let us get back. And I feel like that's kind of what we saw from Nulty, like being over aggressive and in the team fights, Crossfire going really far forwards. And it's like, it felt forced, it felt desperate. And I think Singularity just need to play their game instead of trying to overcommit to these things. But they should not find right here.
I can tell that tone of voice. By the way, Orcs. But that tone of voice, that play, it kind of sums up the Singularity game to me. It has felt a bit awkward. Like they just, as you said, have felt desperate to try and make a big play or get a big advantage where they think they can, and it just hasn't worked out for them.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if they can try and find more opportunities, more plays. But at this point, when the game started, it shouldn't have been desperate. But at this point, it is. And this goal deficit is staggering, and it's still growing. I mean, 2 minutes ago, I was like, it's 7,000. Now it's over 8,000. It's just growing. It's monumental. And realistically, I think what's going to happen in this game is Singularity will still keep looking for these little picks, these little plays. Probably not going to find too much success. Maybe here and there. But then I expect Singularity, there'll be a point in the game where they need to fight Fnatic. May well be Soul, maybe on a Baron. And then that'll be the point where Singularity have the highest odds to come back into it. And if they don't find it, it's game over.
I don't even think it's purely just the gold either. It's the map state. I mean, you've lost tier 2 towers. Both of them were down at 14 minutes into the game. Like top lane tier 2, mid lane tier 2 were dropped at 14 minutes. Like that's a huge map disadvantage. You no longer have the ability to pressure vision in the river. You don't have to just contest vision in your own jungle this early on into the game, and that is hard to deal with if you're Singularity, especially into a Thresh. Because you step into your jungle and either you're just clearing vision or just trying to get some control wards down, and a Thresh hook picks you out, and that's just dead. That's an objective. That's the tower. It's just a really rough spot for Singularity to be in.
I mean, look at the item differentials. Febiven just has a Banshees on Fury. Bean has the Gale Force and the Essence Reaver against just a Kraken Slayer. And he's now a level up. He was 2 levels up just a moment ago. Dragdot did gain a level there just for the catch up, but yeah, I mean, it's looking rough. There's a million different ways you can phrase it, but it's definitely looking rough. And I think it's kind of just waiting until Singularity try and find the window. But it's a good omen for Fnatic.
Looking unwinnable, looking bad. Yeah. It's not a good spot for Singularity to be in. I think we've phrased it as many ways as we could by this point. As you said, there might be some windows around team fights. They do have a relatively strong team fight comp, but a 10k deficit is what we consider relatively significant. Maybe not even relatively significant, maybe just straight up significant. And those kind of deficits, especially at this stage in the game, often are insurmountable. Like, often you never come back from a 10k deficit unless the enemy team just makes throw after throw after throw. And Fnatic, I don't expect that from them.
It's a waiting game at this point. See what can happen. Got some downtime though. I'd like to ask you, Scoundrel, what's your favorite meat in a Sunday roast?
Oh, interesting. Not interesting, but interesting. I'll talk about it in a minute. They went for the play with the Lulu Olaf combo, but alas, I don't even need to tell you how it went. You could see it on your screen. It was not successful. The shockwave comes out, Vazor flashes, but Crossfair does not. And in the meantime, Pride is still just split pushing. Inhibitor tower being threatened right now. He did take a couple of tower shots though. But hey.
Biggest threat to him this game at this point.
I don't know. The level two Lulu was scary, but apart from that, Pride hasn't really seen much else in terms of battle scars. In the meantime, I will link back to your question about my favorite Sunday roast meat, though. I can tier list them for you if you like.
Ooh, we'll wait for this fight and then.
Singularity. I want to talk about Sunday roast meat. Can you not? Dragdar, I swear, you're not going to.
Dragdar's looking like a lamb right now.
Let me. Well, funnily enough, lamb for me is like S tier. So.
I like what I'm hearing. Yep, same. Agree on that. Keep going, External. How you feeling about the
turkey is like a good solid D tier.
Even around Christmas, did you like it?
I'm not a turkey fan. A shockwave comes through. Singularity looking like turkey's on Thanksgiving right now.
We have.
I know. Okay, the tier list. Okay, chicken when done right is definitely like a good A/S tier.
Okay.
Pork, interesting. It really depends. Like sometimes you can overdo pork and it gets a bit dry, and then that puts it like in a solid C tier. But if you've got like a nice pork belly with some good crackling, like crackling is S+ tier for me. So that often just like makes the pork in its own right.
Okay.
What are the beef?
So,
a good beef.
Where are you placing pork itself though? You haven't placed pork.
But on the balance of all odds, like B tier.
Okay. And then beef.
Oh, that's just a good easy S. I love a good beef joint.
Fair play. I guess gammon. I know some people have gammon Sunday roast.
Yeah, B tier. It's all right.
Okay, fair, cool. You big Yorkshire pudding fans? Oh, me. Okay.
I'm gluten intolerant, so I used to love. Love Yorkshire puddings, and they were my favorite part of roasts. And now I can't have them anymore.
That is really tragic.
It's really sad. It's really sad.
I think for me, S tier's lamb, A tier pork and beef, C tier turkey and chicken.
No.
Actually,
chicken can be so good when done right. You know?
Nah, I just find it a bit boring, repetitive. I've eaten too much chicken in my life at the young age of 25, and I think probably an F tier is gammon. I am not a fan of gammon. It's too salty for the most part. I'm not a big fan.
There's some stuff going on the map right now. Pride's just dead to Vazor finally picks up that kill on him that's been building up the entire game. But in the meantime,
I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I think B tiers, I do like turkey. I mean, that's the thing. It's a Sunday roast. I'm always going to love the Sunday roast, right? It's great. So if I have a Sunday roast with chicken or turkey, or like a Christmas dinner with turkey, obviously I love it. It's great. But I just feel like pork and beef are just above, and I love lamb. Lamb with mint sauce.
I'm a big lamb fan, mate. We're triggering the rest of the casters right now, though. Maybe triggering the entire chat. So let's maybe leave our opinions on.
Okay, we've left a bit of time. There's a Baron. Action's happening. We can get back to
exactly.
The game.
There's action. They got Baron. They're now pushing these side lanes in, going for like I guess a 1-3-1 when Pride actually gets back onto the map. Probably what they're going to do.
He's going straight back in. No hesitation.
Yeah, he's going for the lane that no one's in. So they are going for like a 1-1-3 style split here. Just trying to crack the base.
Kenan, it's a 3-1-1. Yes. Top the bomb. Come on.
3-1-1. Yes, I got it. I incorrectly called that. I'm so sorry.
I'll forgive you this once. Right.
Okay. Thank you. What about like chicken in a turkey?
Oh, like when you have like the multiple third roast thing.
Yes.
I don't think it changes it for me really. See, the thing is, I'd probably actually rate turkey above chicken just because I have it so infrequently, and obviously on Christmas is great. But even then, I stand by my placement.
Turkey is like grandma chicken. It's just a bit dry. You know, bit old and dry. You know.
Yeah, I mean, turkey cranberry sauce though is a bit of a banger.
But I just like lamb. I mean, at least we're agreement in lamb. Look,
Yeah.
we've got a bit of fight going on. Prospero forced to jump back over the wall to keep himself
It's
safe. I mean,
it just keeps pulling us away. It's like every time we're like focused the game, it's like, but then again.
but then again, inhibitor gets broken on the top side of the map. Yeah, I'm going to try and focus on the game again.
Yeah.
Fnatic are this close to winning. It has felt like they've won about 10 minutes ago, but they are this close to winning the game as the top lane inhibitor finally gets broken open. Pride now jumping in to threaten that mid lane inhibitor. Febby is going to be clearing those waves. Maxi going to continue the pressure on the top side of the map here. You can't help but feel that there is a single team fight that is boiling up here for Singularity. Rux maybe caught out, gets tagged by a laser, but will be able to escape out of the base right now. And Fnatic playing it slow, not taking any risks.
Playing it very slow, like a slowly roasted Latin. I'll stop.
Dad. You know, I'm fully expecting. Nope, Shockwave just gets blocked out by the ultimate from the Olaf. But in the meantime, that is a kill for Fnatic. They're now looking to continue it. Another hook onto Prospero. He gets stunned up. A double kill for Febby as the final inhibitor is being cracked. Singularity, they just roll over. And that's what it's felt like this entire game. They just rolled over to Fnatic as Pride dives into the backline. Fnatic now onto the second Nexus turret. Nolte desperately trying to get the kill onto Pride, but he cannot. And Fnatic is just business as usual for the boys in orange and black. They should be able to finish off this second Nexus turret. There are 3 members of Singularity desperately holding on as the Nexus is exposed. Maxi flashes forward, dodges out from the laser, but it will be the Nexus that is the focus. This will firmly cement Fnatic at the top of the group here in Group B. And Singularity, they miss out on the head-to-head.
Yeah, honestly, just a devastating win. We've seen situations where it's like 14 minutes as a 7k gold lead. It's reminiscent of the first matchup we saw between these two teams when Fnatic again just decimated Singularity, and it seems very similar. Now, the one consolation prize is that obviously when it comes to the playoffs, they'll start on the other side of the bracket and they won't be playing Fnatic straight away, but it just looked rough. And Singularity, whether it's a mental block, whether it's just Fnatic stepping up against their opponents, this is kind of the Fnatic we expected. And this is a Singularity who need to be able to sort this out, because it doesn't matter how good you do in your regular season. If you're getting decimated this hard by Fnatic, you're not winning, because they will likely be at the other end waiting for you. And if you have games like this, you are just going to lose.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's exactly what I was going to touch on. Doesn't matter like that you can beat the other teams, because at the end of the day, there is only 2 spots available, I believe, for the European Masters. And Fnatic and XL are likely going to be the biggest contenders for them. If you can't beat Fnatic, you probably ain't getting there. And that's why Singularity need to go back to the drawing book and think, why are we losing so hard against Fnatic when we can very comfortably play into other teams? Is it a mental thing? Lamb. Is it the way that we approach the game? Not enough lamb. Clearly, absolutely the case, Dan. Look, I'm almost hesitant to toss it back to the desk here, because I'm very, very scared that they're going to tear apart our tier list of meat. But alas, I'm going to have to. Hit Brain, be kind. Over to you.
Sorry, mate. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm tilted as hell with you right now, and I'm not gonna go, because it's just gonna get unprofessional and it's gonna get nasty if I go down that road. Gulborg, I'm gonna pass it over to you so I can de-tilt myself from that conversation.
Yeah, I want to get in on that conversation. What was that conversation about? As a Scandinavian, I had no idea what any of you were talking about. I was just thinking that roast that, roast this. What? Like, what are these British people saying?
We in England, we like to roast our meat, all right? And so I'll agree. Some of the things they said were fair, but goddamn, there was a lot of wrong stuff in there.
The only thing I'm used to seeing getting roasted is you, Jake. Like, not the food. Like, I was like, it's.
Don't make me bring the picture out again, because I'll do it.
Yeah, honestly.
Don't think I won't. Now, let's talk a little bit about that game while we're getting prepared for interviews and all of that. Fnatic stomped. That's my analysis on it. Cool, Jamada, talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go walk sad now. I'm sorry, I'm still going to take the point. I think I still think from a draft perspective, not that I necessarily think that this game had much to do with draft in itself. I think drafting Olaf with them was effectively free scaling lanes is not necessarily like the most ideal thing in the world. The Olaf didn't really have anything to play towards. I do believe they still managed to secure the first dragon for themselves, but beyond that, what lane is Olaf actually supposed to go to for priority because of how a lot of the lanes actually ended up playing out? And then the Victor doesn't really add much to the Olaf scaling either.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like, we had the question about Fnatic. Are they able to actually show consistent gameplay? And yes, we saw it here with the macro. You didn't need to outplay in team fights. You actually had smart people around the map. Singularity, I don't know if they were too afraid to play the game or what happened, but Fnatic just was in the lead for sure.
Yeah. Oh, we actually have Maxi standing by for an interview, our jungler from Fanatic Rising. Maxi, how you doing? You all right?
Yeah, pretty good.
Feeling good after that win, as everyone's de-stressing from the game. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about this game, but ultimately it was very one-sided. You guys kind of just took control of the game and just never gave it back to Singularity. Talk to me a little bit about your jungle matchup, because you guys left the Olaf open to get first rotated by Singularity. Did you know they were going to pick that, or was it a bit of a call on like, do you play it?
I mean, I didn't think he would pick it because he doesn't play it a lot, but it's not like we were surprised he picked it. We pick good champs into Olaf, and it's hard for him to play.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about yesterday, because I think this game we could put that back, but yesterday was a lot closer. You guys got pretty heavily challenged by Kova. What happened there?
Just a lot of misplays. I don't know how to put it. I want to forget that game really fast, but yeah, it was a close game for sure.
It was definitely. I mean, it was
we shouldn't have won that
game. It was such an exciting game. You guys got Bean got a Penta. I mean, was there something you kind of took away from that game? Like, because we spoke to Advian from XL earlier, and they were talking about their challenging games and their losses, and he was very humble in the sense that he was saying, I learned a lot from these games. What was it that you learned from that Kova game, or was it just we made mistakes?
I mean, we walked through the game, and there's a lot of things we took away from it, like so many mistakes that game. But it's not like we didn't know the mistakes. I'm not sure how much we learned exactly, but yeah.
That's fair enough. Well, I mean, congratulations on the win, Maxi. I'm going to leave it there because I'm sure you guys probably want to go de-stress before. I believe you play tomorrow.
I know we're done for this week. Yeah.
Next week. You got 2 more games left, so good luck to your games next week.
Thank you.
Congratulations on both your wins this week. Speak to you later, all right?
Yeah, bye.
See you later, mate. All right. Now, I don't know who's doing.
Are you playing tomorrow? No, we're not playing tomorrow. Oh, okay, good luck.
I should probably check these things. I'm not gonna lie. I should probably check these things, but I didn't. Who's doing drawing board? Because I didn't check that either.
Just throw to it and you'll know.
Let's get a drawing board. Who is it?
Okay, so no.
No. So, alright, this game is really hard for me to actually find a play of the game. Because a lot of where Fnatic got their lead from was just generally of getting picks, getting objective. Singularity never contested, and as you can see, we're sitting 21 minutes into the game and only 9 kills totally, and it's just the pressure you have outside of the map. Like, you can see Fnatic now in the beginning just coming in and making sure that SNG are not the lord of their own jungle in here, just forcing them out every time. And I'm gonna skip forward and you can see, like, it just keeps happening. Now top lane is even further down. Like, now you can just take a look on the minimap. Like, it's honestly insane where it started and where you're not seeing the congestion. So you can see minion wave pushed in, and while you get a nice pick onto Pride, I'm gonna go for the Jamada circle. It kind of looks like a poop, but you get the Baron, and like that, there's not much to it. Like, this is honestly the play of the game from this series. It's just Fnatic every time. They're trading out smart, they're getting the best objectives, and I don't know what to tell you. Like, yes, I understand why we had a roasting session on the broadcast, because there was not much else onto this game.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it was a pretty one-sided affair, but not all our games today were one-sided. We had 4 matches, 3 of which were definitely a lot more interesting than the Fnatic stomp over Singularity, which is a bit of a shame, really, because in my head, this was the game I was most excited for, but Fnatic just showed up to be the better team. XL kind of bouncing back from their loss as of late.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Granite looking a little worse for wear in recency, unfortunately. Seems like the code may have been cracked, because honestly, Granite as a team, just not looking too great without Sahir on his 2 coveted champions.
And that's the thing, like when Granite shined, it was most likely throughout the team fights when we saw them do it. I mean, not most likely, it was throughout the team fighting when they did it. And you can see they're not as comfortable now. Going on to the Dusty game, like once again, Dusty showing up with a really creative team composition where you were able to just do damage from afar. I really like what we saw from them today.
Yeah, and honestly, Cove composition too. I really liked the adaptation to just swap the Cassiopeia in the later stages. And it just really kind of pigeonholed Riddle into this scenario where they had to throw the Lucian and they had to throw the Galio bot into a really, well, negative matchup realistically, where they couldn't really play for anything. Sayu basically had to just sit there and attempt to amass a farm lead, which he couldn't really turn into anything else.
And then there obviously is the game we just witnessed.
The roast lamb discussion.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about on that game. Like, I mean, they had 1 kill onto Roxy as we see it. This is the highlight of Singularity right there.
Yeah, let's go.
There we go. Pat them stats, baby.
Yeah, Roxy KDA ruined.
That's all you can do is ruin KDAs in that game. that's what
I mean,
that's
they have
your win-win
Hilly saying
there.
on the main roster, right? So Rock's got to do it on the academy team. Like, there's not much to it.
Now, let's have a little look at our standings and see where we are at the end of today. There they are. Cool. So over in Division A or Group A or whatever you want to call it, it's BTXL at the top 6-1. Tricked are in second. Nordavind and Granite tied below them. And then it's Dusty and Godsend. Over on Division B or Group B or Group 2 or whatever you want to call it, it's going to be Fanatic at the top. It's going to be Barrage underneath them. Then Singularity, then Kova, then Riddle. And then all the way at the bottom, it's Jamada's boys and Eminem.
Yeah, sad out. You know, you had to try to toss me under the bus a little bit. I respect it. No, I mean, Eminem is looking more and more like they are just going to end up in relegations, unfortunately.
It's definitely a tough run. They have to play Barrage, Singularity, and Fnatic as the last 3 matches. So, I mean, you gotta have to pull out some miracles. Like, if there's a time to get that miracle run, it's now.
It's right now, yeah.
Well,
guys.
I believe, Jamada, you actually gave us a most valuable player of the day. So show us who your MVP is.
It was actually me and Gorborg together. But yeah, I'll take the honors here. And yeah, Flaxius, honestly, his GP performance really stood out to me. He was just kind of playing like a bit of a Chad. He had really strong barrel chains. There was plenty of cannon barrages, which had, you know, way more value than you normally see come out of Gangplanks. And honestly, final point, he's a pirate, man. Arg. What can I say?
Come on, commit. Give me a proper pirate. We're not throwing the show until I get a proper R out of you. Come on, Jamada.
Arg.
There we go. So we actually have more League of Legends action coming from the NLC tomorrow. Wow, I'm really good at this job apparently. Who gave me this job? Who thought it was a smart idea? Tomorrow, we have Barrage Eminem to start the day off. Then it's Dusty versus Granite. Then it's Nordavind versus Godsend. And then BTXL versus Tricked. Gulborg, give me an R before we throw.
And what?
I want an R. I want an R from you. You also helped with this.
That's literally not happening.
Bring up the picture, Max. Bring up the picture.
No, don't do it. Don't.
We won't bring that up.
Right.
Yeah, so more games coming to the NLC tomorrow, but we do obviously, if you want to kind of get involved with all of the other stuff going on below the NLC, there's so many feeder leagues breeding up here. Gulborg, a man in the middle right now, is actually involved in one of those, so you can talk us through the Telia Masters and all of that goodies.
Yeah, it's just, you know, nurturing the stars of tomorrow right now in Telia League. We got some great teams coming out, both from Denmark, Sweden, Norway, even Finland as well is fielding some really scary rosters. And that's why I'm also worried for teams going into relegations of NLC this split, because I think the competition now is more fierce than ever. So if you want to catch some of that competition before we hit the relegation, definitely tune into the last playoffs game starting now. Go on to Sunday, find your Telia games. You'll love the action.
And there's also the UKLC, which is broadcasted on this Twitch channel and over on the BBC Sport, BBC iPlayer. That's me and Jamada over there. So, you know, we've got the actual pirate casters, because Jamada's now a pirate.
And, you know, Gorborg mentioned all of the pretty scary looking teams coming out of all of the different Scandinavian countries. But honestly, Resolve in the UKLC, they're on a tear right now. They've not dropped a single game. And I know their eyes are definitely going to be on taking the entirety of Telia and then of course trying to take down whoever ends up falling from the NLC.
Yeah, but realistically, they're playing the easiest league, so you know
Oh,
I
yeah.
won't
Yeah.
count on anything before they
Okay.
hit Telium Masters.
I can't wait for you to lose everything.
I
I can't wait for this just to crumble around you, Gulborg, and then me and Jamada will sit atop our ivory tower laughing down on you. That's what's gonna happen, mate. That's what's gonna happen.
That was like a evil villain monologue there, Jake. I think it's about time we
I think it's about time to wrap this up. What are you guys still doing? The show's over. Go home. We'll see you tomorrow for more NLC.